Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball. The Roseville Wrecking Ball.
Joshua Shrum. He is a very talented steward, very knowledgeable.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. This is one of those podcasts where I listen to every episode. I love what he's putting out there.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. Josh Shrum.
Parcels of knowledge. Does a fantastic job with that podcast.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. He is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God. We need Article 8 scholars right now.
Tune into the Parcels of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the mailman's playbook, brother.
Good morning, and welcome back to Parcels of Knowledge, that podcast dedicated to delivering knowledge to the city letter carrier with your host, the Roseville Wrecking Ball. Today we're going to have a long fucking episode, which is crazy because tomorrow we're going to have our interview with Chris Strickland at 6:30 in the morning. Technically, I'm recording not in the morning. I'm recording at 10:43 p.m. at night, and that's because, I was kind of naughty today. I got lazy, and I had a day off, so I decided not to record an episode early in the morning, and then I just all day it was just like, man, I don't feel like doing it right now. But now I am a lucky person, and I'll be recording it at night. And we're pretty much going to have 2 back-to-back episodes.
What a lucky person.
Yeah, so, that's the plan today. It's going to be a long one. The plan, and I know you don't hear that too often here on this podcast, but plan is we're going to do the Wrecking Crew Wednesday episode as scheduled. It's still technically Wednesday. And then afterward, I got a couple different things to talk about. I got national correspondence I'd like to pick apart because I'm a little bit pissed off about it. And I also have a Step B decision that's going to be some great news for the undelivered mail. It's a step in the right direction, at least, so we're going to go over that as well. I got my decision back, so I'm basically going to read the decision and let you know what that means for me or the future of this undelivered mail grievance. This came from the starter that I did, so essentially it kind of has a relation to that. So, but first, you know what day it is. This is Wrecking Crew Wednesday. And we got a whole bunch of badass individuals, and guess what? We have grown in numbers. We now have 37 members. That's right, you heard that right, 37 members. If you don't know what the Wrecking Crew is, it's my Patreon members. We got a Patreon for if you feel this podcast provides you value, you're welcome to join the Patreon and provide value right back at me. And, of course, these guys are pretty cool. They're badass individuals, and every Wednesday they get to choose the topic out of a poll, and then at the first Wednesday of every month we have a round table, and every Wednesday we also recognize them. So, without further ado, let's recognize these badass individuals. That would be Rick Steiner, E.R., Tom Perry, Philip DeGilio, Chris Angeloff, Amy Tyvan, Ryan Ackers, Edmund DeVore, Maziel Guzman, Paul Siranowski, Jamie Gregory, Neil Beckman, Shannon Mossbarger, Kenneth Grigsby, Benjamin Shellhaas, Joni Weber, the Allentown Architect, Self-Care, G. Whiskey, Daniel Pitts, Mark Allen Kennedy II, Jason Munn, David Grosskopf, Unfortunate VP, Abraham Mascar, Corey Walton, Tyler Christopher, Lino Miranda, Anthony Arthur Robinson, Angel, the activist Obi Tynes, Roxy B, Kathleen Rocky Connors, Kirby Franklin, Omi, Alan Rossi, and our newest member, John Murphy, not that one. So it's not the John Murphy from Next Generation Carriers. It's a different one. I love how he always puts that at the end of his name. It'd be crazy to have to always say that. But dude, these guys are great guys, and I appreciate everything you do for me. I am eternally grateful. And we'll give them an oh yeah.
Oh, yeah!
All right. So moving on, they chose the topic, and this topic is essentially going to be about the proper recording of auxiliary assistance and labor distribution codes, or otherwise, in a little bit more common terms, why it's important for you to switch to your extra and what impact it has and what you can do about it. So, or for other people to switch to their extra, even if you're not the one that, maybe you're not the problem, but it's very important to keep proper time records. And the biggest reason why is for the simple fact that we do a lot of things that incorporate our route values, and being able to track which routes on which times is always for our benefit in terms of route adjustments. So that's the biggest impact, is the impact it has on route adjustments. If you are carrying off someone's route, let's say either you're a CCA or you're an ODL or whatever, maybe you were forced. First of all, make sure you're switching to that proper routes function no matter where you are. If you're in the office, switch to office time if you're casing up the mail in the morning. If you're on the street, absolutely switch to street time. If you're loading your vehicle with somebody else's stuff, first you load your vehicle, then when you're putting their stuff in there, you load your vehicle under that function. So no matter what you're doing, you have to keep track of what exactly you're doing and which route it's on, because this really helps with a lot of different grievances, but more specifically, it helps with route adjustment purposes, because a lot of times they can use prior data. I'm going to read a contract talk from the NALC that talks about this type of thing. It's titled "Proper Recording of Auxiliary Assistance and Labor Distribution Codes," and it's going to be more about the nitty-gritty functionality of it. In its accounting system, the Postal Service uses various labor distribution codes to identify employee duty assignments and to associate the many work functions to the proper operation. NALC received notification from the Postal Service of a recently developed document entitled Guidelines for the Use of LDC 23 and LDC 24. These guidelines made some changes to the LDCs used in city letter carrier craft and clarified the proper use of these codes. Prior to these changes, the following LDCs were used to differentiate among city letter carrier craft functions: LDC 21 for office time, LDC 22 for street time, LDC 23 for time not directly attributed to office or street time. As the Postal Service states in the guidelines, the use of LDC 23 has often been used by the USPS managers as a catch-all LDC for any time that could not be directly attributed to office, street, or collection hours. When quantities of time could not be assigned to other functional LDCs, or when units did not want to attribute the hours to LDC 21 or LDC 22, the hours were assigned to LDC 23, which is known as Other City Delivery Hours. Proper recording of work hours is very important for a few reasons. First, it allows the Postal Service to determine the true cost of the delivery of the various items assigned to routes. Second, it accounts for the time spent casing and delivering the route, so that letter carriers are properly credited for the work associated to their assignment, even when they are receiving auxiliary assistance. This is especially important during route evaluations and adjustments, because improper crediting of time could have a major impact on the route's evaluation. If a route receives auxiliary assistance and the time is coded under the wrong LDC, this data will not reflect a true representation of the time worked on the route, therefore resulting in a negative effect on the evaluation. Although LDCs 21 and 22 have remained unchanged, the guidelines clarify that LDC 23 should only be used for time spent actually delivering a dedicated parcel post route, time spent performing the duties of a relay route or combination route, or time spent by letter carrier transporting mail from one office to another. This code can also be used when a carrier is delivering priority express. LDC 23 should never be used when a route is receiving auxiliary assistance via parcel help, even if the assistance is being provided by a carrier who normally performs the duties of a parcel post route. The guidelines state that the time spent on office functions by bid carriers or their replacements on routes designated as parcel post routes should be transferred to operation number 734 in LDC 23. Time spent loading and delivering the parcels on these routes should be attributed to operation number 7330 in LDC 23. Auxiliary assistance given to city delivery routes by a dedicated parcel post route, even if the assistance given was to relieve the route by delivering parcels, is not part of LDC 23. That assistance is still part of the carrier's street time and is part of the carrier's route time. It must therefore be attributed to LDC 22. So just to let you guys know, the parcel post routes, most of us don't have those. It's only parcels. So I'm going to get back to the article. The same goes for any other carrier who is providing auxiliary assistance to a route by delivering their parcels. The letter carrier providing this assistance should record this time on LDC 22. This is important so that the time spent delivering these parcels is properly recorded. If a route receives auxiliary assistance and this time is coded under the wrong LDC, the data will not reflect a true representation of the time worked on their route, therefore resulting in a negative effect on the valuation. While there is a relationship between LDCs and operation codes that are entered into the time attendance control system on the badge reader, it is important not to confuse the two. When a carrier enters an operation number into the reader and swipes their badge, tax code entered determines which LDC the work will be assigned to. For example, if a carrier on a residual motorized route needs auxiliary assistance and management has another carrier deliver parcels to provide that assistance, the carrier providing the assistance clocks the tax operation code 721 on that route. Their time would be coded under LDC 22, which is the correct code, and it means the time spent by the carrier providing assistance will be credited to the correct route. However, if the carrier is providing assistance clocks to or is moved by management to a tax code that is covered under LDC 23 or LDC 24, the time would not be credited to the correct route. So essentially what we're trying to say here is that, there are three different functions, or I think now it's four. Yeah, there's four. LDC 21, which is office time. LDC 22, which is street time. LDC 23, which is parcel post, relay, or combination, and sometimes express. And LDC 24, which is the brand new one, which created M document 1885, which is what this was referencing. 1885 is what you'll need in a lot of these case files to talk about the importance of the LDC switching. But essentially, you got the four different functions, and they have operation numbers that correspond with what you do in tax. Like, for example, if you're switching to 721 in tax, which is on the scanner, it'll put you on an LDC 22 function. That is credited toward your route. The only two that are credited toward your route are 21 and 22. 23 and 24 are not for routes most city letter carriers deliver for. So even when you're just helping, like let's say you get back to the office, you got 10 extra minutes. in undertime, which is crazy. And management asks you to go deliver one package off a random route. You have to switch to that route. If you don't know what that route is, ask your manager what that route is. Even if it's just one package, even if it's just only packages or only mail or what have you, as long as you're doing mail off of another route, you're going to have to switch to that route. A lot of carriers don't do this. And sometimes by our own choice. Sometimes we're told that this is the way it's done, so then we get into the habit of not doing it, and then that habit's hard to break. A lot of times we, as stewards, we can come up to that carrier and say, hey, you need to be switching. But that habit is ingrained, so they may not switch anyway. So sometimes you got to grieve the fact that management's giving improper instructions. Sometimes you got to grieve the fact that management's not doing anything about carriers not switching. Sometimes you just got to talk to the carrier yourself. But either way, it's dramatically important that we switch. Now, LDC 21 has several different functions that you also want to make sure that management's not switching you to. Even though it does have stuff that is attributed to office time, such as, let me see, 744 or 722 or 720. It also has functions like 613, which is stewards, or 354, standby. If management is switching you to any function that is incorrect, if they're switching you at all without a 1260, that is also a grievance. You need to be filing that, and also not only do you need to file that under the F21, but you also have to include 18 U.S. Code 1001. That is the most important part, because that's about entering in false information. And if they're willingly doing that, it's usually deliberate. Either way, that needs to be addressed. If management's taking you off of the proper function and they're putting you on another one, that absolutely needs to be grieved as well. Now, what you got to do is, I would ask for the employee everything report. If you're a steward out there, ask for the employee everything report in PDF format, because it's the easiest way to do it. And you're able to search the document if it's in a digital format. You could search it a lot faster. You can type in things like 354 and see how many times management puts you on standby. Maybe 0, or it may be a lot. It all depends on how bad your management are in terms of falsifying documents. But I think that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that today. Hopefully that was enough, but I got a lot of things to talk about today, so I'm going to move on to my next subject. So just to recap, M1885, go check that out. It talks about the LDC functions and the brand new edition of LDC 24. I don't think we really use that too much anyway. That's for a lot of the, like Sunday parcel, we use that one once a week. Or grocery delivery, we really don't do that in most places. But that's the document you're going to need to try and file a grievance for carrier switching to the proper LDC function. Or management giving you the instructions not to switch to the proper LDC function when you're providing auxiliary assistance. It's very important that we do that. And if you file a grievance, typically you got to prove the harm. The harm doesn't happen in December. It happens in the entire year except for December, in terms of like adjustments that involve a 271G, because 271G allow you to incorporate the summer months. For adjustments not incorporated by a 271G, for just regular adjustments, it also would exclude those 3 summer months. But this works for any because the harm can be provided through either way. So it would work for the entire year except for December exclusionary period. So typically we lose those because we can't articulate the harm for the December exclusionary period. Other than that, it's a go for the grievance. But let's talk about the undelivered mail grievance. I got my Step B decision in, and it was an impasse. I think this was probably the best course of action that could have happened because I was worried that it would not get past Step B. And if that were the scenario, I think that would be cutting it at the knees. I hoped that they gave me my opportunity to get it resolved at arbitration because I knew for certain they weren't not going to resolve it at Step B. And just to update you guys with what it is, if you're not in on the loop, I've been filing for undelivered mail for a very long time. For mail that does not get delivered because management implemented a window of operation of basically whenever we hit penalty time. So at my office, ever since January of 2025, management has said, okay, everyone needs to be back by 10 hours. And if you didn't get their mail delivered, it's going to be carried into the next day. This has been consistent since January of 25. The entire year of 25, management was able to resolve that at the informal A with paying the ODL missed opportunities. We resolved that 29 times. In January of 26, management decided not to resolve this grievance anymore. And we sent our first two up to Step B. We held back 3 of them in abeyance because it was over 1,000-page case files. We didn't want to pay for the paper. So we sent 2 out. We sent our 2 best cases forward. I have another like 15 I got to send out in the middle of July. But these first 2 finally came back. We extended them all the way to April 1st, and we sent them out then. And I'm going to read them, and you tell me what you think. Because this will give you an idea. If you use my template, which is what I basically base this on, you will have an idea of what management will argue at Step B impasse. So, Issue 1. Did management violate Article 3 and or 5 via 39 U.S. Code 101, 39 U.S. Code 3691, 39 U.S. Code 1011, 18 U.S. Code 1703, and or 18 U.S. Code 1693, Article 30 via Item 3, Section 2 of the Roseville LMOU, Article 19 via the National Color Code Policy, Postal Operations Manual 621, and or ELM 661, and or Article 8.5 of the National Agreement and its curtailment of first-class mail on 1/6/2026, and or distribution of overtime or lack thereof, and if so, what is the appropriate remedy? Issue number 2. Did management violate Article 15.3a in their refusal to honor a long-standing remedy that has been observed for over a year for the same or similar violation, and if so, what is the appropriate remedy? Decision. The dispute resolution team has declared an impasse in their discussion of this grievance. The Step B team has considered all arguments and evidence in this case file, and any of this material may be cited in the event of arbitration. The DRT agrees that the timeline at Step B were extended by mutual consent. The good thing is that it wasn't that long. It took 3 months. Could have been worse. The NALC National Business Agent may appeal this grievance to arbitration within 14 days of receipt of this decision letter. Explanation. On January 6, 2026, management curtailed mail delivery, implemented a window of operation, did not utilize overtime desire list carriers and non-scheduled day ODL lists to their maximum work hours, and refused to adhere to previous resolutions. Union contentions, along with all the other contentions that were raised at previous steps of the grievance procedure, The following contentions are being submitted for consideration. The local union has done an excellent job of outlining the facts and contentions of this grievance. A brief summary shall follow. On January 6, 2026, management arbitrarily created a fictional window of operation, instructing letter carriers to stop delivering letters, flats, and accountable mail. Management also instructed the letter carriers to only deliver packages and be back to the office by 6 p.m. Management did not record curtailed mail properly. The Roseville LMOU specifically states, Item 3, Section 1, the paramount factor in making any decisions about providing or continuing mail service is the safety of the personnel involved. Postal services will be provided in our community only as long as it is safe and practicable to do so under the general guidelines of the safety of the employees involved. There was not an emergency on this day. There were not any safety concerns on this day. Management cites in their own contentions, delaying mail continues to be management's tool of last resort for workload leveling and in response to local emergency conditions. In this situation, there was no emergency condition where I had to consult with the local union per LMOU. The last Michigan Metroplex truck we have for transportation is scheduled to leave for the Roseville facility at 18:30. All mail collected must make the transportation for proper handling of mail at the plant. Where does it state management must pay penalty overtime? It is not a binding practice. I agree. This is a textbook failure to bargain under good faith under Article 15. That was all management's contentions. That was not the whole thing, but that was the part that Steppe highlighted. Management is aware they cannot improperly curtail mail. Management's reasoning for delaying the mail is because all mail collected must make the transportation for proper handling of the mail at the plant. Management intentionally delayed and abandoned the mail. There were letter carriers available to deliver the mail, but when management created a fictitious window of operation, they had every intent to not have the letter carriers deliver the mail. Many customers from Roseville have gone to social media to address their concerns for non-delivery of mail. Many customers have not received mail in days. Customers have stated they didn't get mail on time, there is lack of accountability, they have a lack of confidence in USPS, it is the worst post office in the state of Michigan, and so much more. Management has created this situation by not properly staffing and intentionally delaying the mail without reason. The letter carriers just want to do their job and deliver mail in their possession, and management's violating contract provisions by delaying mail. Management did not record curtail mail properly. PS Form 1571s included in the case file show the amount of mail curtailed, but management did not enter the total number of pieces in their report. There have been multiple resolutions to pay the ODL carriers for violations of Article 8.5 when they did not distribute overtime or mail delivery. Management continues to violate the national agreement, and they are well aware of the remedy for the violations, but yet they still continue to violate them. ELM 661.2 lays out multiple U.S. codes management has violated when they have delayed the delivery of mail. And it's applicable to all employees in the Postal Service, including management. It is beyond a shadow of a doubt, management intentionally stopped delivery of the mail on January 6th. Management's reason was to make sure the collected mail is on the truck, nothing else. The remedy, asked by the union, aligns with previous local settlements, but now management does not want to follow the agreement made in the past. The union requests the remedy on page 30 be granted in its entirety, or anything an arbitrator deems appropriate. So here's the USPS position. That was the union's position. They go on to state about 2 pages of reasons why the Step B can add to the file. I'm not going to read those pages because I don't really care about why they could add to the file. I disagree with it to a degree. So I'm going to skip forward to the part of management's contentions that relate to the case at hand. They cite the issue statements, again, for some reason. And they say Article 3 gives management the exclusive right to manage the operation entrusted to it. This includes assigning work and determining the methods and means by which assigned duties are to be carried out. Management has the right to take necessary operational action as they did in this instant case. When carriers were instructed to return to the office by 6:30 p.m., which may have resulted in some curtailed mail. On the day in question, carriers were given clear instructions to return to the office by 6:30 p.m. Any mail returned by carriers was not the result of a planned curtailment of mail by management, but rather the result of employees complying with return time instructions. The union is improperly equating the curtailment of mail with the curtailment of postal operations. It is management's position that these are separate and distinct events. Curtailing individual mail pieces or delaying delivery until the next delivery day is an operational management decision. Curtailing or terminating postal operations, as referenced in Article 30, Item 3 of the LMOU, refers to the suspension or termination of postal operations as a whole. This instant situation does not meet the definition of a management-initiated curtailment requiring notice under the LMOU. The union provided no evidence that the postal operations as a whole were curtailed or terminated. So I didn't question the notice given to us under the LMOU. We don't have one. I actually put in other language that it doesn't matter. This is just an idiot argument. But anyway, furthermore, Article 30 clearly prohibits the LMOU provisions that are inconsistent or in conflict with the national agreement. This is why she brings this up, because I put in there that I actually put in there a provision that says that they will deliver mail as long as it's safe to do so. Any interpretation of the LMOU that expands its scope beyond delivery operations as a whole to include individual pieces or mail or partial deliveries would be inconsistent with the national agreement and therefore unenforceable. The U.S. codes the union cited are grossly misplaced. These statutes refer to congressional mandates for the Postal Service to deliver mail 6 days a week. Again, the union provided no evidence whatsoever that the Postal Service failed to provide 6-day delivery during the week in question or any other week. The decision to curtail some mail to meet operational needs for one day does not constitute a violation of these statutes or the national agreement for that matter. The union's reliance on an audit by the OIG is grossly misplaced. The OIG report is not incorporated into the national agreement through Article 19. By the way, I did not say it was. I put it in there for persuasive value, so I don't know why she's putting this in there, but anyway. Article 19 applies only to those postal handbooks and manuals that directly relate to wages, hours, or working conditions. An OIG audit is an internal oversight document, which is not directed to the carrier or the NALC, and does not establish contractual obligations enforceable through the grievance arbitration procedure. The arbitration decisions included in the case file are not applicable to this instant case as they are not regional awards. Regional awards only set precedents in the installation from which it arose. None of the regional arbitration awards arose from the Roseville installation. The informal A settlements contained in the case file establish no precedents contrary to what the union claims. The contractual language is clear. No resolution reached as a result of such decision shall be a precedent for any purpose. The union failed to establish a violation of Article 8.5 occurred. It is management's right to determine when overtime is needed and to assign it accordingly. Management states the reason behind their operation decision to curtail mail was to make dispatch. The union provided no evidence that management's decision to curtail mail was a way to avoid the payment of overtime. Furthermore, management complied with established postal procedures governing the curtailment of mail. The curtailment of mail was properly documented on PS Form 1571, as well as other postal systems and records. The process to properly document the curtailed mail demonstrates that management acted transparently in documenting the operational decision. The evidence in the case file does not demonstrate that the city deliveries operations were curtailed or terminated on the day in question. There is no documentation or indication that management ceased delivery activities, installation-wide, or otherwise implemented a formal curtailment of operations. And that is essentially the basis of their argument. So I'm going to post this tomorrow for people to see in case people are interested. I think that was the best possible resolution we could have got from Step B. I knew it wasn't going to be resolved, so the only other two options are denied or impasse. Well, it was impasse. So now we're going to have to wait for the arbitration process to play out. I currently have a total of 11 cases awaiting arbitration. I know it's not that many, which is great, but it's more than I have ever had before. I don't normally have this more than a couple. And so that I have a suspicion that this could be like 2-year process. Maybe 2 years down the line from now, we'll find out what actually happens. So I'm hoping it doesn't take that long, but I don't have a lot of faith in it. Lately, arbitrations seem to be taking about 1.5 years for me. So if there's more cases than ever up there right now, I can imagine it taking 2. But I don't think I'm actually going to get into the correspondence from the, you know what? Fuck it. I'll get into it. So one thing that's been really making me mad is that I guess there's a correspondence out there, floating out there, that may impact a case I got up there, because I didn't notice at the time, and I don't know if it existed at the time, but apparently there's a correspondence from Paul Barner to the USPS, and it involves the Informed Facility, and those are the TVs that are monitors in some of the stations. One of them is mine. I filed a grievance for this, and in this correspondence from 2025, it actually says that essentially Paul Barner's okay with the TVs as long as they don't get used for intimidation. Like essentially, it says that he's okay that that these TVs are up, displaying the information that they're displaying, as long as the intent is not to pressure, intimidate, or single out the performance of carriers. And as long as the colors are not red and green, there's different shades of blue. I think this is another way for the national NLC to sell us out. I don't know why they did this stupid bullshit. There's absolutely no situation where a carrier's personal performance should be displayed on a television in the middle of the fucking office. This is fucking stupid. And if I swear, if this sinks my case that's up there, this is just going to be another situation where it's very clear that the people at the top have no understanding of how things work. You can't just assume that the intent is that it's not for hurting the city letter carrier. That's the whole point. You know that they're going to bastardize these things, even if at the top they don't intend to intimidate us or pressure us, which I fucking doubt that 1,000%. But even if that were the case, you don't see this being used in the wrong way? There must be something real special about you if you can't tell. But that's about as far as I'll go. But, I'm just a little bit pissed off about this stupid correspondence letter, and it should have never happened. And they shouldn't have these stupid TVs in there. It's the equivalent of when they used to post everybody's stationary times. It's no different. These TVs, they display start times, they display your street and office times, and they highlight them if they're over a certain point. So there is no way this should be happening. And for the national NALC to say this is okay, that's just one extra document the Postal Service has in their possession to fight grievances like the one I filed, where I was not okay with the TV. It's a mutual respect issue. It should never happen. But anyway, that's as far as I'll go. Hopefully you learned something valuable today. And as always, have a good day.
If these guys are getting educated, we will be in big trouble.
Management's been weighing you down like a bag of wet catalogs, but you don't gotta take it. You strap on the elbow of education, dig it?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball.
Article 8 scholar, and thank God. We need Article 8 scholars right now. The grievance genius, the Roseville Wrecking Ball, doing amazing work.
Tune into the Parcels of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the Mailman's Playbook, brother.